What did you think, Jim, and what other players that you're speaking to think of the commissioner's appearance on Emmanuel Acho's program?
Truly, Rich, I haven't talked to them about that, and I think you know my feelings on it because I spoke on it on air. In my opinion, that was not uncomfortable at all. The only ones that was uncomfortable for were for the listeners who were waiting to hear real questions be asked of the commissioner on that. Look, when the commissioner says we could have listened earlier, well, you heard the players for 2 years. You saw them demonstrate. You heard what they wanted. You even negotiated with the Players Coalition to come up with a program to try and address some of these issues. So to say that you didn't listen, that's not true. You heard them. You chose not to listen. You chose not to act on it because after 2 years you went into an owners meeting and changed the Anthem policy to prevent players from demonstrating on the field during the Star-Spangled Banner. So, again, if I'm doing that interview with the commissioner, among the things I said that I would like to have heard ask is, number one, we know that the commissioner's father stood up on principle, stood against President Nixon during the Vietnam War at the cost of his job, showed tremendous courage. Well, I wonder, did the commissioner think about that when he was thinking about how to handle the Colin Kaepernick situation when Colin took a knee? You know, back in 2018 when the owners changed the Anthem policy, was there ever any consideration given to the fact that when you change that policy to prevent these players from demonstrating on the field during the Anthem, that the appearance is that you value your pocketbooks more than you value a black life? You know, back in 2006, when Roger was named commissioner, he went out and met with Dr. Harry Edwards. And Dr. Harry Edwards told him at that time, the demographics of the league are changing, and more black players are coming in, and they're going to become the face of the league, and they are not going to leave their communities at the locker room door. So with a decade to prepare for that moment, how is it that the NFL was so unprepared when Colin took a knee? And lastly, after he took a knee, Dr. Edwards also told Roger, do not make him a martyr. And yet the owners turned around and made Colin a martyr. So for me, those are things that I would want to hear answered, you know, if I were doing the interview with the commissioner at that point, just some of the things.
So that's what you thought of the interview, huh?
That's what I thought of it.
Oh, so what's the next?
It made me uncomfortable.
Well, so what's the next step, Jim? What do you think here?
The next step is action, Rich. It's not about talk anymore. You know, it's not even about demonstrating anymore. It's about action now. And if the NFL is a family, as we've seen in the slogans and the ads and this, that, and the other on television and whatnot, then owners, step with your players. If you believe that what they are fighting for is right, then stand out front with them. And make change. Use that political capital. Look, we know it's been reported that 9 of the top 16 sports donors to President Trump's inauguration or re-election campaign were NFL owners. And you only pay that kind of money for access and influence. Well, now use that access. Use that influence to try and make real change, to make legislative change, systemic change. That, to me, is progress in this fight because, look, Rich, this isn't going to be solved in a day. It's not even going to be solved in a year, you know. But what you do now lays the foundation for what comes going forward. And for instance, when I talked to that player this morning, he said, we understand, you know, that we're trying to do something for the generation that's going to come behind us. So to discount or to minimize what these players are feeling and what they are thinking, in my opinion, would be a grave mistake by the owners in the NFL at this point.